Welcome to Sailing Saoirse. I'm Tegan. My parents sold our house, sold their business, and bought a 38-foot island spirit catamaran with the goal to travel the world. This is Colbin, my husband, Karen, my mum, Denver, my brother, and Robin, my dad. Together we make up Sailing Saoirse.
Tegan's on fire this morning. She's at helm. Not looking particularly happy. And her speed. But we're doing really well. It's a beautiful day of sailing. There's the islands we've just left. We're coming up alongside Guadalupe. We've spotted some whales. Tegan is not taking her eyes off them, but they're far in the distance.
In the right hand side of the screen you can see that there is a little stream that comes out into the ocean. It is the only place in Guadeloupe that has a natural thermal springs heated by volcanic activity that is used to make electricity. For decades the hot springs have been like a pilgrimage site for the locals who bathe in its hot healing waters. So we've come to the sulfur pools. What is it? Thermal hot springs?
Yeah, well the water comes from the hot springs into the ocean. And we put a hand
Down
over
through
the side
there.
of the duck. It's like a waft.
Okay, now put your foot in the water. It's only warm on the surface though. Down below it's quite cold.
You got to keep your body on the surface of the water.
But it's cold underneath.
Yeah.
It's like icebergs underneath.
So you must take a shoe off. Oh, I can't believe this. It's nice. You're in the ocean and it's hot.
It doesn't smell so great though.
No.
The smell smelled like boiled eggs, so it wasn't great, but they say it's due to the sulfur that is in the water coming from the hot springs. The water was actually so hot that we had to get out. After about 15 minutes, you were just sweating while sitting in the water. We took the dinghy out to this little island, and it was incredible. The amount of coral was just so beautiful to see. There wasn't a lot of fish or life down there besides the coral the day that we went. The boys went a few days before us and said the visibility and the sea life was a lot better. had a quick motor across to the Pigeon Island Jacques Cousteau Bay, and from, I'm going to put the name here, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, and it's 2.5 nautical miles away, so we're literally getting there in like 15 minutes, so that's just great. When we dropped anchor in the bay, it was beautiful, still conditions. We all went for a little lie down, had a nap, and woke up to absolute crazy rocking of the boat. We got up, had a look outside, and this is what we saw. We have no clue where it came from, it wasn't predicted, but it only lasted for about 2 hours and then died off.
Tegan's sitting here freezing her hiney off because about 20 minutes ago now some dolphins came through from over there past that boat and just took a wide line around us, well, close-ish enough to actually swim out. She jumped in the water and then they just went in a different direction.
Kraken decided he
got all scared of
needed to come out.
Sharks and krakens. So she's sitting here freezing in the hopes that they'll come back, but they went off down there somewhere and there's not much hope.
I'm guessing there's a lot of sharks. We couldn't wait to get across to Pigeon Island, which is part of the Jacques Cousteau Reserve. We had heard a few mixed reviews about what condition the reserve was in. A lot of people said that the coral was dead and there was litter everywhere, but when we went it was pretty beautiful. We did find in the shallower areas where it's about 1/2 meter deep, the coral was a bit destroyed, and we did see tourists standing on the coral, which was a little bit disappointing. What we did love about the marine life in the reserve was that the fish really weren't scared of you, so you could swim amongst them quite easily and get really close. Colbin loves to take something shiny wherever there are fish, and he throws them around like he would with a dog, and the fish really do react to it and come up and investigate.
Thank you.
We're at the Jacques Cousteau dive site, and it was very pretty.
It's like diving in an aquarium.
Probably the
Imagine
most
so
parrotfish we've ever seen.
And all different types.
Yeah, tons of different types. The water is so clean and clear. Colbin's just fetching
I
something.
literally just saw like a 5 kilo Yellowstone. It was like this big, like this wide.
So, very interesting day. There are lots of tourists, but let me try get a video of all the kayaks, because you can kayak across here from the mainland. And there's
I don't
just
know how you find your kayak off when you come back. Because
tons of kayaks. you can swim between the two islands, and you can come out this end. Between the two islands where the reef gets very shallow, there isn't much reef. It's pretty much just stone, but lots of fish. Looks like we're going to get some weather in, so we're going to...
Lots of fish. It was like swimming in an aquarium.
It was apparently like swimming in an aquarium.
My eyes were this big behind my goggles. I couldn't believe it.
It looks like we're about to get some weather, so let's head back because we have to get across the bay.
It's lunchtime.
Every time after snorkeling, my hair is just one big mess of a knot, and I made the mistake of asking Colvin to cut my hair. Just a little trim, but no, he got artistic. Tegan has decided she needs to go with a big chop. Colvin's been tasked with the job.
But this is like...
This could be a marriage breaker, you do know that.
Are you ready? This is high responsibility.
So busy chewing on his lunch, he's not really paying much attention.
You know, you would have thought he would be watching tutorials. Okay, you're getting my ear.
Yeah, but you are messing it up by doing this all the time because then it's sticking to your back. Come and see the big chop.
So I'm going to go like in line
big
with your
chop.
tat.
Should I pull the string?
But you never cut it straight like this, otherwise it doesn't finish.
Should have been giving this hair to cancer. It's that long.
Could have donated this, look at this.
No, don't do that because you're going to mess up to the line now. You're going to
Tegan.
brush it again.
And then you must hold it here so I can see it.
Could end up with one of those asymmetrical bobs that were all the fashion
we'll just
in
get artistic here.
the 80s. Oh, that's short. You sure it's short.
I feel like I've been editing so many videos recently that I just think I could press
I went in line with
undo,
your tat and
rewind.
it was like,
Okay, let's see.
Yo!
Turn around! Oh! Colvin is short.
Colvin, that is short.
I told you I was going in line with your tattoo, and you said, okay.
That's in line with the tattoo.
The
Turn
bottom of
around.
my tattoo. It's not in line with my
It's
tattoo.
coiled up. Yeah,
My mom's face is not making me happy.
Oh, you got a long piece on your shoulder, yeah, still. So you got one piece you can hang on to.
I'll just hold on to that.
Oh, there we go.
No, I don't think you should touch it anymore. I'm going to show you. No,
I mean, like there's a whole long piece of your ear here as well.
do not cut it anymore.
Not, I'm showing you that it's in
Tidy
line.
it up.
I don't think I'm going to be able to tie it up.
I think you'll still be able to tie it up. I don't think you'll be able to do a bun.
Mom, you're looking a little stressed.
Oh, it's also in lobs.
Okay, I think you should just stop. We'll resurrect it later.
Yo.
Okay, now turn around, let me see. Yeah, she's a little asymmetrical. We'll fix her
I
up
was
later.
thinking below my tattoo. Where's my tattoo?
It is below your tattoo,
that
but your hair is
on that
curly.
side of the
If I do
back.
that.
On that side of your back, it's at the tattoo, and on this, on this side, it's on your shoulder. I asked Colvin to give me a trim. Was that a trim, Colvin? Town is really easy and accessible to get to if you dinghy into the little fisherman's harbour. There's a leader price and a car for, which makes for really easy provisioning, and if you take a walk down the road you get to the little town with fresh fruit stands and other curio shops and lots of restaurants. Beautiful.
this is the very southern end of the bay we're at. We're all the way down there somewhere, off that island. So this end doesn't really offer much protection in the weather, but it's very pretty down here.
We couldn't help but spend another morning at Pigeon Island. The water started getting really rough and a little bumpy, so we decided to pack up and head back to the boat for lunch. We only realized once getting back to the dinghy that the wind was howling and there were quite a few waves in the bay. We also noticed on our way back that there was a boat between us and our neighbouring boat that wasn't there when we left.
What colour duck is it? A grey?
We headed to shore to try and find the owner of the yacht that was busy dragging, but because we were all in our snorkeling gear, they wouldn't let us into the stores to try and look for the guy that owned the boat. So we headed back out to see what we could help with.
But they won't let Colvin into the shop because he's wet. Do you want us to dive and see if the chains are over each other?
I think it was there. So I'm worried now they're going to crack out. So I may as well get up past it.
So let Colvin just dive and confirm that they are over your
I can
chain.
check your anchor and see that it's safe. Yeah, no worries.
You got everything?
Yeah.
Colvin dived on Windward's anchor to make sure that the yacht that was dragging their anchor hadn't dragged over theirs, and luckily it hadn't.
Where is it now?
The wind carried on blowing, and it felt like with each gust it got stronger and stronger. in the bay, when we had first anchored, there's a lot of mooring balls, and there was a big rigid inflatable on one of the moorings, and with this big wind it also looks like it's broken loose and is almost out to sea. So we have contacted the Coast Guard here, but with them being French it's really hard to communicate. But Colburn and Denver have gone to hopefully tow it back. But it actually looks like the wind's dying down. We're at 15 knots compared to 30 just now.
It's still gusting through.
But it's literally headed out to sea, and it's a very nice dinghy. So we'll see what happens. Colburn and Denver had to punch through the waves to get across to the dinghy. When we got back from snorkeling at Pigeon Island, our neighbour boat Windward had a red boat on the side of them that had dragged through the anchorage in this wind. So we dashed to shore and tried to find the owners, but couldn't find them. Colburn and Denver and another guy from another boat here, a very nice guy, helped let out more chain in the meantime just to get it past Windward, the sail yacht, and they are back, so that's all getting sorted at the same time as the dinghy rescue. Just keeping an eye on the boys because it is rough out there. Just as I said, the wind calmed down. It's now gusting 35, sustained 29. Not happy about the boys being out there on the dinghy.
The boys should have gone over the guys.
Gosh, what a shambles. Now the neighbour's dinghy's gone. Luckily everyone in the Anchorage was on high alert, so we were all out trying to help rescue the dinghy that had gone missing. To top it off, now we start dragging. Oh my gosh, like 100 meters. What a bloody shambles. Lifting duck. The boys just got back. I'm shaking. Shoot. Suddenly the yachts that were next to us were far in front of us and getting further and further away from us, meaning we were dragging anchor at a really fast pace. When I checked the anchor alarm, we had moved back about 180 meters in the space of 30 seconds. This is the head. Anchorage massacre today. In the matter of an hour, we had another boat drag between us and our friend boat Windward. So we had just come back from Pigeon Island, and there was suddenly a boat between the two of us and getting very, very close to Windward. They had their fenders out, fending. Then the boys were on the boat that was dragging because no one was on board, and they were trying to let out chain, and they only had 10 meters of chain in all on their boat. So they let out some rope and it dragged behind Windward. They eventually came back to the boat, and Dean from Windward went across to the boat that was dragging on his dinghy, and then his dinghy stopped working, so he got onto the boat that was dragging his dinghy to try and get back to his boat. And the boat that was dragging his dinghy was their dinghy cut out, so they had to free wind it down back to the other boat, back to their boat. And as Dean was trying to get out of his boat, he fell in the water, and then we started dragging, and suddenly the two monos that were next to us were far in front of us, so we started all freaking out. We got the boat under control, and then we noticed while we were trying to re-anchor that the dinghy off the boat that was dragging, the red boat, the other monohull, their dinghy was going out to sea. So all of this happened while Colburn and Denver had taken our dinghy across to Pigeon Island, which is almost 1 nautical mile away, to fetch a huge rigid dinghy that we didn't realize was so big, and they couldn't tow it back in. So I got into the radio with the Coast Guard, and they were helping us out, and then they got a speedboat to come out and do it. But luckily the boys literally touched down on Saoirse as we started dragging, and we were dragging really badly, surprisingly. But it's just been a freaking massacre. Insane day. So after all of that, with the boys heading out to try and save the rigid inflatable, they couldn't tow it back into the Anchorage because it had actually dragged its entire mooring out to sea with it, so it weighed a ton, and the boys couldn't beat back into the wind and waves with it on tow. So they flagged down a speedboat and they brought it in for us. After a very stressful few hours, we all sat down when the wind died down, and we had to just laugh about the entire situation. So much happened in such a short space of time. It was like a comedy half hour. As soon as one problem was solved, another problem would start in the Anchorage. At the end of the day, while we watched the beautiful sunset, we turned around and saw this amazing rainbow blessing our skies after a very stressful afternoon. Thank you so much for watching with us. If you enjoyed our video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already and want to see more videos, please click the subscribe button.